Did you know he'll help you understand? Did you know always a right-hand man? Did you know he's gonna make it clear? Did you know? Come on, listen here. Did you know?
Hello and welcome to the Did You Know Show. My name is Brian Green. The Did You Know Show is sponsored by Always Best Care Senior Services. We provide in-home care primarily to seniors. Today brings us to two of my very favorite people on the business agenda, on the business tip as well as community service. Today we're going to be talking to Anita and Kerri Connor, the Tax Divas, and they provide a wonderful service. Ask me how I know. And we're here today in Jenkintown, Pennsylvania, and we're talking to them first about Tax Divas. Ladies, Anita and Kerri, welcome to the show.
Hi, how you doing? Thanks for
Thank you for agreeing to come on. So let's just start. Tell us about Tax Divas. Tell us, the services, the name. How did you get to Tax Divas? Who created that? Which I think is an excellent marketing tool, by the way.
I know, and I wish I'd known it 30 years ago. We'd be in a very different place. But we're a full-service CPA and financial advisory firm. We've been in existence for over 30 years.
Oh wow.
My parents encouraged me as a child to be an entrepreneur, and I took an accounting class, and and that was all she wrote.
Okay.
And I wanted to be the best of the best. So I wanted to be a CPA, and out of that group, financial advisory, because we recognized that the clients that we were servicing needed financial advisory services as well. They needed to learn how to grow wealth.
Okay.
So that's how when we added the financial advisory side. But we provide accounting, tax, financial planning, insurance, and investment services.
Oh, wow.
To individuals, small businesses, nonprofits, churches. Mm-hmm.
And if you're watching, I use them, so I can endorse them all day. They have kept my books really clean. We have an accounting team that works really closely with them around tax time, and they really do find all of my little tricks. No, I don't have any tricks. Kerri, you followed your mom's footsteps.
I did, just by happenstance, I guess. When I went to Howard University, I wanted to major.
HU.
I know, yes. I wanted to do a pre-law program, but they didn't have one. So my mom said, "Oh, why don't you just major in accounting?" I think that was her way of getting me in it. And I did do accounting. Accounting was actually pretty hard in school. Like, I didn't think I was going to get it. And then when I came out in the real world, I found out, wait, I'm actually good at this. And so I liked working with people. I liked working with numbers. I liked problem solving. And so I've been with the firm now for over 20 years. I started in '96.
Wow. And I got to tell you too, I went undergrad to Virginia State.
Okay.
And my first major was hotel restaurant major. And the very first accounting class that I took was with Carl Wright. And he said, he encouraged me. He was my advisor at the time. He said, "Brian, you have a knack for this." And I thought accounting just made practical sense. But I never looked at it as a major nor a career, to be completely honest. And so under his tutelage, I decided to change my major in freshman year. And I finished with an accounting degree, and I got to tell you, it's given me a sound foundation. But what I like about your guys' service, just being an entrepreneur out of need. People ask me about how I became an entrepreneur. Well, I got laid off from my corporate America job. But I had an accounting background, but it's like when you're a plumber, you don't want to do your own pipes.
Right.
When you're a carpenter, you don't want to do your own carpentry. When you're an accountant, sometimes you get biased and you get caught up in the weeds. And for me, having a sound CPA firm, really adds credibility to my books, one. And you guys oftentimes point out things that I could be doing differently. Because I not only am, with a business, as you can imagine, I'm not only focusing on accounting, I'm focusing on marketing, human resources, all different things that keep a business going. And with home care, obviously you're following up on customer service, which is a huge piece. And so, what tips do you, now I know the tips, but tell my viewing audience, what tips would you give an individual or versus a small business when it comes to accounting and taxes and that kind of thing? Because you normally have really, really resound advice for me, and I just want to share it, and that's why you're here. So Kerri or Anita, start us. If you want to do single people and then you want to do small businesses or vice versa.
Well, you know what, the tip that I'd like to say, whether you're a small business or an individual, is that, you know, for businesses, you got to run the business by the numbers, you know, and many small businesses don't, because they don't know accounting, they know their business.
Right.
You know, so, but at the end of the day, you know, cash is king, you know, you got to run the business by the numbers. So you got to know your numbers.
Right.
So you got to have good accounting records, so that you can manage the business, make good business decisions, minimize your taxes, you know, everything, you know, it was really a function of those numbers. But a lot of the small businesses really don't run their business that way. They just kind of just chasing.
Pie in the sky. And it's easy to do.
It's very easy to do. You know, you can't run your business by just looking in what's in the bank.
Right.
You really got to know your numbers, but it applies to individuals too.
Right.
You know, money gets away from us quick. You know, that paycheck comes and it goes. It goes real quick. You really gotta manage your money. So whether you're an individual or a business owner, you gotta run your operation, because we as individuals have businesses too. You know, we don't think of them as businesses, but we run a household. You know, so you got money coming in and money going out. So you got to manage by the numbers.
And managing by the numbers too, I would think, would be a key to budgeting. And really, you know, setting goals.
Exactly.
Setting goals and budgeting go hand in glove. And if you don't, then, you know, you're dead in the water. If you're not growing, you're dying. And, you know, watching the competitive nature, and that's what I say. You know, home care over the years, because of the growing aging population, has become, for me, very competitive. But also with that, you know, you have to watch, and I'll just use myself as an example, my marketing dollars. You know, you got to manage, like you said, by the numbers.
Right.
You know, and so we do quite a bit of business with Medicaid, and, you know, the Medicaid reimbursement for a while has been stagnant. So we really have to really manage around what we're getting. It's nice to be able to say you have this and that, but if you don't have the finances to back it up, you'll be working at a deficit.
Right.
And it's oftentimes when people get to tax time, you realize that some of the decisions that you should have made, you know, ongoing. My question to you guys on that vein is, you don't just provide advice at tax time. You guys ongoing give us, you know, advice. You know, and Kerri, you have been so patient, and Anita and your team. First of all, I can't give you enough compliments from a client perspective, but I listen. And I think you would probably agree, a lot of people, if they took your advice, which sometimes is hard to take because you get territorial about your personal finances as an individual, and it's even worse when you're in a small business, because it's your island. But you have to have that kind of external value. You guys provide that in so many levels. What are some of the tax changes that have happened as of late that affect individuals and small businesses, or business in general?
You want me to discuss that?
You know the tax changes. Yes.
Well, you know, we're operating under a whole new tax law, you know, and I don't think that has really settled in with a lot of people yet. Even though after this very first tax season, a lot of individuals got really hit hard. You know, the tax law really, you know, affected their tax refunds, you know, or if they owed more, because they really didn't take the time to understand how the new tax law was going to, you know, impact them. So, you know, some of the big changes are, you know, a lot of people aren't itemized in deductions anymore. They have to take the standard deduction.
Oh, wow.
Right. You don't get personal exemptions anymore. You used to get an exemption of $4,000 or approximately for every dependent you had. That's completely eliminated. You know, there's been some positive things, like, you know, the child tax credit doubled. You know, it used to be $1,000, now it's $2,000. Plus, you can get a credit. It used to only be for children up to age 17, but now you can get it for anybody, any dependent. But for any dependent over 17, you only get $500, but you still get it. You can get anything for over age 17.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, there's changes for small businesses. you know, they get a haircut right off the top if they qualify. You know, 20% haircut off of your net income. You know, that's so you're only being taxed on 80% of your income. So there's been a lot of changes, but you know, the individuals or in small businesses really haven't taken the time to meet with an advisor or consultant, a tax advisor, to understand how the law impacts them. And so, you know, they weren't really prepared for tax season, so we got the brunt of it because, you know, I was like, what do you mean my refund is...
Deliver bad news.
What do you mean I'm not getting that $4,000 back? Well, you know,
this is what happened.
Because they didn't take, you know, take heed to see what the changes were going to be.
And, you know, that's a proof positive. So if you're listening, you know, we really should... prepare. How does an individual prepare? Well, you can adjust your withholdings, and the same thing for a small business. For a small business, you can adjust spending. I know that as a parent, this is the last year my daughter will be able to, be on my benefits. You know, those things like that. You know, she's turning 26 this year, so she'll have to. And I know she watches the show. You'll have to have your own benefits now. And it's funny because she works for me in HR. Shout out to Bria Green. She hates when I do it, but I just did it anyway. To pull the daddy move. But you know, people didn't understand it. So if you're a parent, in a lot of ways, your children age as everybody else ages. You can still reap the benefit of child care credit, but then the personal exemption and the standard deductions and itemization has honestly changed. And a lot of people, you know, creature a habit. You come with your shoebox or your accordion folder or whatever you bring to your tax divas, and then you get to deliver a bad news. So it's, you know, it's one of these things that I always suggest that you stay in touch with whoever is doing your taxes. All year round. Don't just wait to tax time to start really, panicking. You know, it's a wealth of knowledge. All right, so we're going to take a break. We're going to come back and continue our conversation. Stay tuned. We're going to, pay some bills, and we're going to come back and continue our conversations with the Tax Divas.
Did you know?
Always Best Care specializes in helping seniors who wish to remain in their home but need assistance. Our flexible care programs vary from hourly to live-in. Simply put, we're there when you need us. And Always Best Care is a DHS-approved Medicaid provider. Call today and we'll meet with you to develop a personalized care plan. Always Best Care Senior Services. Doing more, caring more, and dedicated to exceeding your expectations always.
Did you know?
Welcome back to the Did You Know Show. I'm sitting here with the Tax Divas, and we're having a great conversation about your taxes and financial planning and just really dealing with your finances, that really would benefit you. When we were on the break, we talked about life changes. How do life changes affect a person's, financial standing? How do
Well, in a lot of ways. So let's talk about taxes first. So, when people have life changes, we're talking about whether you get married, you might get divorced, you might become an empty nester because your children have graduated, they're out of college now, they're on their own, you might buy a house, you might sell a house, or investment property, or start a business. There's life changes that go on. People go through a journey all year long, and every time there's a life change, it's going to have an impact, particularly on your taxes.
Okay.
Let's say you were married and now you're divorced. So now you hold different filing status, or let's say you have a baby. Now you got more deductions. So there's life change. You get a job, lose a job. All these life changes impact your taxes because they affect your filing status, affect your income, affect your deductions, affect the credits you might be allowed to take. So every time there's a life change, you need to take a look, not only your taxes, but you need to also take a look at you might have to look at your life insurance, change your beneficiary designations.
Oh, wow.
Oh, change your will, change your trust. For those of you who have wills and trusts, we did talk about that.
Right.
How important, that.
And the life planning is huge.
It's huge right now. So every time there's a life change, you really need to step back and take a look at your finances because it impacts your finances some kind of way. Some good ways and some not so good ways.
But a calculated change in terms of being able to prepare for it is, people used to say, what is it, forewarned is forearmed, and so you know how to navigate and where to move your resources. Let's, a question that keeps coming up oftentimes for those folks that miss filing for multiple years, what should they do?
My. First of all, you need to get current. You need to get current as soon as possible, particularly before the IRS prepares the return for you. So the IRS will prepare a return if you miss preparing, for 2, 3, 4 years, and they think that you that you owe taxes, then they will prepare a return for you under the worst case scenario, because they don't give you any deductions or anything. You want to make sure you prepare those returns before the IRS prepares them, because they will prepare them, and if they say you owe, they will start collection process. So you need to get current as soon as possible, and get your taxes current. So, and if you don't have the data, because a lot of people don't file because they can't find their W-2s or their 1099s, or if you can't get that information from your previous payers or your employers, the IRS has that information. So you can request a record of income or transcript from the IRS so that you can prepare your returns. So that's not an excuse, because the information is out there.
Right.
So you just need to sit down and take the time to gather as much information as you can, reconstruct the information, and get those returns prepared before it's too late. The other thing that you need to consider, that if you were doing refunds, okay,
Right.
so if you didn't file in 3 years and you were doing a refund, well, IRS is going to keep that refund. You got 3 years to claim your money from the IRS. So, that all I can say is get your returns done as soon as possible. The information is out there. If you don't have it, you can get it from the IRS.
So there's no escheatment process for refunds.
No, there is not. There is not.
And if you owe, you're going to be paying interest and penalties for the late filing. So the longer you wait to file, the more your liability is going to be.
Yep.
So record keeping is really important if you're listening. And for all of my social media and people that use search engine optimization and you think you're really jazzy on the computer, one thing that could really benefit to you is really getting a software called QuickBooks. And then Kerri, they offer it on the desktop versus online. What's the difference?
So yeah, there is 2 versions of QuickBooks. You can either get desktop or online. Desktop is really on your desktop, and if
Okay.
you're going to move it from one computer to the other, you just have to make sure you back it up the right copy and that you restore it on the next computer that you use it on. Some offices have it on a network system so that all the employees can have access to it. But the desktop is really for a stationary or a computer or a laptop. We actually have been converting a lot of our clients to QuickBooks Online, just because we just feel it's really efficient and effective. One, it allows us to see what the client is talking about at the same time.
Right.
We can go into the system. We don't have to worry about losing data, somebody saving a copy over top of the most recent copy, and we're able to get to the information accurately and quickly.
Right.
But QuickBooks is really important for our business owners. One, because it allows you to see your income, your profit and loss on a real-time basis. It allows you to see whether or not you need to make an estimated tax payment.
Yes.
Because if you owe the IRS in your business, you have to pay your taxes in quarterly, and there's no way to know what you're going to need to pay in if we don't have a record of what your income is and what your expenses are. And like my mother says, that the accounting really tells the story. So you have to really be putting in your expenses and your income on a real-time basis, so you know how your business is doing. So you know what changes you need to make. You know if you need to bring some more income in, if you need to cut back on some of your expenditures. You can't wait till the end of the year to pull all of your accounting together and figure out how your business is doing.
And just a word of advice from a QuickBook user, and I would consider myself these days to be more of an intermediate user because I have a team of people that use it all the time. But in the beginning, I probably was on it myself a lot more. But if you're somebody that's trying to proactively track data and manipulate data, when are your expenses spiking? When is your revenue spiking? Do you have seasonal mix? Do you have more clients in the summertime versus the fall or the winter? Do your expenses kind of travel down in the spring because of X or Y? Those kind of things can help a business plan. And when you plan, you succeed. When you don't plan, you're reacting, and so a lot of times you can't react to a catastrophic situation. And that's why a lot of businesses fail, because you really don't know what you don't know. But QuickBooks kind of puts it out there for you. And if you're not the financial person, you certainly want to at least solicit the help of two, they have a whole team of divas. And I got to tell you, I came to them out of need. My previous accountant wasn't the best. And that doesn't make him a bad person, but it just was for me, I am an accountant too. So, I mean, at the same time, you kind of fall asleep at the wheel. And when you fall asleep at the wheel, it could be to your detriment. So I would recommend Tax Divas to anybody in this area, the southeastern Pennsylvania area. I don't know how far you guys go out, but for mainly because they meet you where you are. They're two very, very experienced folk that have probably seen a lot with small businesses, and I guess small to medium businesses and individuals. A lot of the programs out there, we were talking offline about 401k and 403b, and a lot of people, we were talking about don't even pay attention to their benefits. And a lot of benefits that are afforded to you, like, Kerri, you said the best, is free money. Why wouldn't you have a company that matches your savings? Why wouldn't you do it? And you have the choice to invest in risky, they break it down to the real most granular detail to something that's kind of a stable fund that's just kind of really not going to put you at risk, doesn't garner you a high rate of return, but up to kind of something that's a little bit more risky, like international stuff. So when what advice would you give somebody that's either a high net worth individual versus somebody that may be making a moderately priced, or somebody that's in a reasonably, I guess, salaried area? When you talk about benefits, whether it be 401k, 403b, or even life insurance, what say the Tax Divas?
Well, what I would say is, whether you're, like you say, high net worth, middle income, low income, wherever you fall on the spectrum, everybody has the same goal. We all want to have financial security.
Yes,
at the end of the day.
agree.
And so, in order to have financial security, there's no secret. There's no secret to how to achieve financial security. It's all about saving. Okay. Saving and investing. There's a difference between savings and investing. Savings means, do you have an emergency fund? Do you have, do you have that rainy day fund so that, if something happens to, you have your roof leaks or your car breaks down, do you have those resources to get a repair, or are you going to have to use your credit card and get into more debt?
Or finance an AC
or finance, exactly.
Yeah.
So you want to build your savings, and then once you build your savings, you want to invest. So, but we all have the same goal, financial security. It might mean something different for you or me or Kerri, but we all have that same goal. And so you achieve that goal by setting, some financial savings and investing goals. With respect to those of us who are employed or even self-employed, those that are employed, there's a lot of employee benefits that you may not be taking advantage of. You need to spend a little bit of time with HR and find out what benefits are available to you so that you don't leave that free money on the table. We talk about the 401k or the 403b. Those are retirement savings plans, and the company typically matches. They might match 3%, 6%. So, why would you not take advantage of that, extra benefit that they're giving you? So if you put in $1,000, they're going to match you up to a certain percentage of your income. So, we encourage everyone to take
pre-tax dollars.
Pre-tax. You don't even pay tax on that money until you take it out. With the Roth, 401ks, you don't pay tax on it at all. Okay?
It's always interesting to me, and I've been watching, a lot of times when employees kind of separate involuntarily or voluntarily, whatever the situation is, they often rush to cash out their 401k, and I'm thinking to myself, they don't even try to roll it over.
Right.
That is an option. You can roll it over, and a lot of times, we're doing things with regards to financial literacy, showing you that if you put away some pre-tax dollars, your net amount that you're taking home is almost the same, and you're saving money, and somebody is matching your savings. A lot of people don't understand that. They don't take the time to understand your benefits. And I can tell you, me being a parent in my 20s, I didn't pay attention to my benefits until I had a kid. So let's talk about life insurance. A lot of people don't think about life insurance until they get to be a certain age, and a lot of times as a young person, What say you, Kerri? What do you think?
I just think it's very important. I talk to my friends about it all the time, and all young people, about the importance of having life insurance, especially when you have young children. I mean, I have 3 children. If something were to happen to me or even my husband, would we be able to live the same lifestyle that we have now? And I just think being young in our 40s, we think, oh, we don't even think about it. We think we have plenty of time to make those decisions, and you just never know what life is going to throw your way. And so we have to be prepared, and we have to take care of our loved ones. And that means having maybe the uncomfortable discussion of, you know, what do we do if something happens? We need to look into getting life insurance, and how much. Do we have enough life insurance that's going to supplement my income or my husband's income so that we can live the same lifestyle that we currently are living?
Wow. Well, we're going to take a break. We've been continuing our conversation with the Tax Divas. We're going to switch gears in a little bit and talk about one of the reasons why I absolutely adore these 2 leaders is because not only are they in the business mind, but they also participate in a lot of different community services. So stay tuned. We're going to continue our conversation with the Tax Divas.
Did you know?
Always Best Care specializes in helping seniors who wish to remain in their home but need assistance. Our flexible care programs vary from hourly to live-in. Simply put, we're there when you need us. And Always Best Care is a DHS-approved Medicaid provider. Call today and we'll meet with you to develop a personalized care plan. Always Best Care Senior Services. Doing more, caring more, and dedicated to exceeding your expectations always.
Did you know?
Welcome back to the Did You Know Show. I want to remind all of our viewers that you can check me out on the radio on 96.1 FM or 900 AM on WRD radio.com. My show is called The Did You Know Show there as well. The Did You Know Show is centered around connecting people to home, community, and business resources that you ordinarily wouldn't know about. And it's my pleasure again to reintroduce the Tax Divas. And we've been talking about, up until now, you know, financial advice. But you guys did something, you kind of birthed financial literacy into a kind of a community service platform. Let's talk about it.
Yes, in 2000,
Okay.
actually, you know, it was always my vision to leave a legacy for my parents, because they're the one that encouraged me and my brother as children to become entrepreneurs and give back to the community and so forth and so on. So we started, you know, Get Financial Education Center, George E. Thorne Financial Education Center. And our mission is to really eliminate the economic disparities.
Because they're awesome. Talk about it.
Right, and, you know, in the Black community. And so we've created curriculums. We started with the faith-based community, you know, so I think I've written about 8 manuals maybe, you know, to educate the financial officers on how to be good trustees, how to count money, how to get financing, how to set up nonprofits. So we do workshops and conferences for the faith-based community and educating them on how to run the ministry, you know, sound. We do a lot of financial empowerment seminars for adults and for children.
What can we look forward to? Like, so if you had to give us kind of the abbreviated curriculum, what can we look for in those kind of forums?
Okay. Really from the gamut. We start from, you know, setting financial goals, how to set financial goals and how to determine what your net worth is. You know, so the budgeting and net worth, because in order, just like losing weight, you got to know where you are in order to get to your goal. So in order to achieve your financial goals, you got to know where you are today. So we teach people how to, you know, to calculate what their net worth is, what their financial balance sheet is, and their budget is. Then we move on into debt, controlling debt and credit. So we do a workshop on that, and then we do a workshop when we move on to doing insurances, you know, all insurances. So, and then so we just lay the foundation first, then we get into investing and legacy planning. We just had a workshop on estate planning a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
And they're all free to the community.
Okay.
So, but those, you know, so we go through the whole cycle, financial planning cycle. You know, certainly have a session on taxes, you know, so people can better understand, you know, how taxes work and how that impacts them.
So is it is it modules? Is it like hour sessions, 2-hour sessions? I mean, and then of course, if you're watching, if you look at the bottom of your screen, you can definitely find the contact information on how to contact Anita or Kerri, whether you want tax advice, financial planning. I feel like I'm doing your commercial, but more than that, if you want them to come to your community center, a faith-based situation, whether that's a church or a community center, I'm sure that they would be willing to come out and talk to you. But and one thing, as I'm sitting here thinking about it, you also, for many years, was a professor.
Yeah.
An adjunct professor at our alma mater.
Yes, at textile, or what do we call it now?
It went from
Jefferson, right.
It went from Philadelphia College of Textiles and Science to Philadelphia University, and now it's TJU, which is Thomas Jefferson University, and they call our campus the East Falls campus.
Right, the East Falls campus.
And we share that, we share that in common. But you were a teacher too, so you are about outreach. And so, you mentioned a few things. You always wanted to be an entrepreneur. That was your spirit. That's where you are. Do you mentor people? And one thing too, before we go any further, while it's on my heart to say it, those that don't know, those people that follow the show, I'm a man of Omega Psi Phi fraternity. Right now, I have to give a shout out to Delta Sigma Theta.
Yes.
Both Anita and Kerri are proud members of that sorority. So we have that connection. We have that connection. And I got to just shout it out. Shout out to Pan Hell.
Yes.
But today we're going to focus on Omega Psi Phi. While we're doing it. But I follow both of you in different ways, and I follow your advice. And it's always funny. Kerri deals with me a little bit, better. She always, Brian, now you did X, Y, Z, And I'm like, dang, if you caught it, I know the IRS is going to catch it. If you caught it, ain't no sense in me trying to push that off to a marketing expense. Just own up to it. But when you talk about faith-based, you guys also do another community event too. So how did that walk me through how you got from, what is the accolade again? Get
Financial Education Center.
Get Financial Education Center, and then you moved on to something else, and you do something else in the community that we're proud sponsors of, and I just want people to get involved. Can we go there? Can we tell that story?
You want to tell the story?
Yeah, I guess I can. 21 years ago, my mother was diagnosed with an advanced stage of breast cancer. And in that time, we didn't know anything about the disease. It was a very scary time period. She had to have, a mastectomy, a total hysterectomy. She went through a clinical trial, basically, to save her life. And so she had what's called stem cell transplant. But during the time that my mother was sick, we were doing a lot of research because we really didn't know anyone else that had the disease. And we realized that African American women are dying at greater rates than any other ethnic group from breast cancer. African American women or black women get the disease less, but they're dying at greater rates. And so we said, what can we do about this? How can we educate our community? Because we don't believe that breast cancer has to be a death sentence. And the one way that we said that we would do this is that we would go to where our people were, which were in the religious organizations and in the churches. And so 14 years ago, we birthed an organization called Praise is the Cure. And the mission of Praise is the Cure is to end the disparity as it relates to black women and breast cancer. And we do that through providing mammograms and screenings. We do educational workshops, and we provide support services. And that's one of the ways that we're trying to give back to the community and just really trying to, like I said, end the disparity. 21 years ago, black women were dying at greater rates, and still today, black women are dying at greater rates. And, it's just sad.
And I got to say something. Just from my limited knowledge has grown over the years. 20, 30, 40 years ago, I can say, like most diseases in our community, we don't talk about it. We don't talk about it at all. And so then, it's always interesting to me when I come to these support groups, whether we're talking about cancer, whether we're talking about diabetes or Alzheimer's, it's always interesting when people are in a support group, how I could just look around the room sometimes and feel people's weight being lifted off of their shoulders because they thought that they were alone. The other thing I want to say too is that I'll shift the conversation from black women to black men. Oftentimes we don't participate or have the courage or the education to participate in the trials because we're not trusting of the trials. You know, our history has led us to believe to be distrusting of certain environments, so we don't, medicine in and of itself is people practice medicine. And to get to a cure, they have to be able to study our genealogy oftentimes and our background. And Kerri, you have your own story. So Anita, you my understanding, your cancer went into remission.
Yes.
And then just as you're going into remission, then Kerri, you started your situation.
I did. 10 years after my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer, I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer as well, and it was aggressive and it was advanced. And I did, chemotherapy. I had double mastectomies. I had radiation, surgeries. At one point in time, I think I had 6 surgeries in over 2 years. And so it was a lot. But I did what I needed to do, and I was cancer-free for 9 years. And then in 2017, I was 42 years old, and my cancer had come back, and it was stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. And our topic this year with Praise is the Cure, we always focus on one topic to educate the community about, and we chose metastatic breast cancer again because learning about it, because I had it, women under 40, black women under 40, it's taking us out. We are dying so fast from this, and people don't even really know what it is. And it's just so sad because, people, they don't even really encourage women to get mammograms until they're 40. And so, these women between the ages of 25 and 40 are getting metastatic breast cancer and not living long at all. And we really have to educate the community on taking care of themselves, on recognizing the warning signs. I mean, as a mother of 3 children, when something's wrong, I usually put it off. And with this I did. I had a cough. I just had a cough and it wouldn't go away. And I just said, oh, it's a cold. I'm not going to worry about it. And one day my husband was like, don't come back in this house until you see what that cough is
all about.
And then the doctor was sitting there and she was like, I think it's just a cough too. She was like, but you know what? I'm going to send you. I was walking out the door and she says, I'm just going to send you for a chest x-ray. And when I went to the hospital, my lung was full of fluid. I had no left lung. And, the hospital called me right back that same day. And then that's when it all began. I had cancer all through my chest. It had eaten the ribs away in the back rib cage. And I get treatments every 3 weeks. I get treatments every 3 weeks. I get shots every 4 weeks. I'm monitored like crazy. I love my health team. They take good care of me. But I'm only 44 years old. And so I get emotional, sorry. But we really have to get the word out.
Right. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back on the other side. I want to talk about your book.
Okay.
I want to talk about your book. I want to talk about Praise is the Cure. I want to talk about clinical trials, your health team, all of that. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Did you know?
Always Best Care specializes in helping seniors who wish to remain in their home but need assistance. Our flexible care programs vary from hourly to live-in. Simply put, we're there when you need us. And Always Best Care is a DHS-approved Medicaid provider. Call today and we'll meet with you to develop a personalized care plan. Always Best Care Senior Services. Doing more, caring more, and dedicated to exceeding your expectations always.
Did you know?
Welcome back to the Did You Know Show. I'm again sitting here with these 2 phenomenal women. Phenomenal women, that is you. Maya Angelou would be proud. Anyway, I want to highlight, Kerri took the time to write this book, and I wanted you to look at it. It says, My Mommy Has Breast Cancer, But She Is Okay. My Mommy Has Breast Cancer, But She Is Okay is a children's book written by breast cancer survivor and first-time author, Kerri Connor. Studies show that 1 out of 8 women will be diagnosed with this devastating disease. This book seeks to inspire women with breast cancer as well as young children to continue to fight. Join Maddie and her mother as they embark on the journey. Now it's 3 kids. Join Maddie and her sun and her moon and her stars. I stalk you. I stalk you. You don't believe me. I stalk you on Facebook. As they embark on the journey, so many families are taking part in today. Hopefully one day this journey will lead to a world without breast cancer. And a portion of the proceeds from this book will be used for breast cancer awareness program. So, this book is courageous because what it says to me is that as a mother, as a mom, you have to deal with it and talk to your kids. And you have to explain to your kids why mommy is sick and why mommy sometimes can't come to events, can't come to, soccer games or a cheerleading practice or dance-offs. Which one is the dancer?
Both of them are dancing now. They're both dancing.
They're dancing their tails off. Look. And so, what was your inspiration? Let's talk about it. What was your inspiration of writing this really courageous book?
My daughter Madison was only 2 the first time I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and I was going to go through some drastic changes. I was going to lose my hair. Something as simple as giving her a hug she might not be able to do from the double mastectomies. And so I was looking for a book that would explain to her some of the changes in a non-scary way, that would also give inspiration and hope. And there were no books out there that had images that looked like her. And so I said, you know what, let me write something that talks about my journey and my story, and hopefully it will inspire others as well as educate.
And then we were talking, and we had such good content when we talk offline, our production team. Let's talk about your health team. How important it is to have a health team that really inspires you, advocates for you. Let's go there.
Yeah, it's so important. If you're diagnosed with an illness, to have a team that you really trust and believe in. Obviously, my faith plays a big part in, how I feel and my healing, but also my team and having faith in them. And just one example that I just shared with you was, my team fights for me. They advocate for me. And in this last round of being diagnosed with breast cancer, my insurance company denied my treatments.
Imagine that.
They denied my treatments, and I was sitting in the doctor's office. I was in extreme pain. The cancer had already eaten through my bones, and the doctor said, you know what, we have to try something different. They had me all hooked up for the chemo, and the insurance company said no. And my doctor got on the phone with the insurance team and convinced them as to why I needed this treatment. And when I think about it now, I said a lot of doctors might not have done that. A lot of doctors won't do that. And to be able to have a team that's going to advocate for me and do what they think is best for me gives me great peace of mind and allows me to believe, with my faith, that I can overcome these statistics and these odds that women have with metastatic breast cancer.
And Mom, you said something while we were talking. I'm gonna see my mind. Anita, you said something that's very important. I think the viewing audience should hear. When you go to these appointments, I think if it's at all possible, you take somebody with you.
Very important.
Why?
You need to take somebody with you because, when you're going through, you don't hear, all the things. I remember when I went with Kerri in her first battle, she just started crying because the vanity, I'm never going to get married. The whole, she wasn't even listening. The whole vanity.
A human response.
Kicked in. The doctor is telling her, referring her to, who she wants to refer her to. And, and I would have to, you have to be listening and just say, and if you don't agree, you got to speak up on their behalf.
It is your right.
It's your
to ask questions.
To ask questions and not to just, you want to trust, but at the same time, you got to advocate for yourself too. And so, in order to do that, you should take someone with you who can, hear and listen and help, you navigate that process.
I am one of their biggest fans for a couple of different reasons, and I always, I always use your guys' example, you ladies' example. Sometimes when I'm having a motivational moment with my team or family, in a lot of ways, when you're facing something like this, because let's face it, 20, 30, 40 years ago, cancer was a death sentence. People thought of, people only equated cancer to death. and that's why a lot of ways we didn't talk about it. You know, it was like the Scarlet Letter in a lot of ways. You know, you just kept it secret. You know, it was like something I had. You know, and then we shut down. And I don't think that's necessarily germane to a black family. I think that's something that people do in general when you have something that you're toiling with, and a lot of times when you shut down and you don't share your experience, you don't benefit from maybe what the situation is. There's a difference between, my great-grandmother used to say, a closed fist versus an open hand. You know, open hand receives. And so when you have an open mind, the same thing. You know, you have an open mind, you can receive. And now with today's technology, you have a lot more success stories and stories like that. And when I say a fan, I'm a fan because these two women and their organization honored me last year, and I just was blown away because I've been a fan, and a lot of times you never know where people are and where they sit in their own walk or own path or season. And so for you ladies to take this and make it something, you definitely turn a lemon, or what could have been a lemon, into lemonade, and you share that lemonade at this Praise is the Cure for Cancer. And I just want to talk about some of the things that's going on at the Praise is the Cure for Cancer. We have some B-roll, so we're going to show some B-roll. We're going to show some some past events and what kind of goes on. And they got, I can never forget, the ladies, the nurses, shout out to the nurse sorority, they got on my case about my type 2 diabetes, as well they should have, if we're going to be mature about it. And they sat me down and they gave me tips. But what's going on at this event? There's multiple things going on. You got the real men that wear pink has turned into now a tailgate. And if I can speak to that, because I did have the opportunity a couple of years in a row speaking at that event and just kind of gathering thoughts. But shout out to Doug Henderson and a couple other people that have participated in that. And that's when men, get together and they share as what it is to be a caregiver, a father, a parent, an advocate to somebody that is going through this and what their life is all about, and how as men, sometimes you think, the stereotypical response is, okay, we'll fix it. What happens when you can't fix it? You have feelings too. You have to be the rock for the family, for the little kids, or children, or adolescents, and you have to carry on. The day goes on, whether mommy has cancer or not. Life goes on, let's face it. And so, you and the kids still have activities and that kind of thing. What are some of the, I keep jumping in because I'm so hyped about the Praise is the Cure for Cancer, but what are some of the other things that goes on?
Well, we call it the Week of Hope, Health, and Healing.
Okay.
And we go from Sunday to Sunday during Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And so our kickoff event, which is our signature event, is Praise Sunday. That's our Breast Cancer Awareness Day. And we partner with 50 to 60 churches that day, and our volunteers go out to those churches and we distribute breast cancer awareness literature. We celebrate survivors. We give a little talk in the community that day. We reach about 15,000 people that day. And breast cancer affects the whole family, like you said. And, it affects obviously the patient, the children, the caregivers, the husband or the significant others. So it affects everyone. So we try to make sure that we have events that really is inclusive. So during the course of the week, we have what we call our Children's Festival.
Okay.
And that event is for children. This year we'll be going to Wissahickon Boys and Girls Club and their parents. And we do readings to them, and they have lots of activities. We have literature for the adults. And then we have Saturday, our Super Saturday. Super Saturday is the big day. We do everything from Fox Chase brings their mamma van out, so we do mammograms that day. We have a pamper party for breast cancer survivors, and they get everything from full body massage, the nails, hair, makeup, every photo booth. They get everything. We have our men's event, which is now a tailgate party, so it's a health forum and a tailgate party. So they have a good time, barbecue and everything.
Yes, we do.
So the men have a great time out there. We also have a health fair for the community. We have a community health fair, and they have workshops, they get screenings, and everybody gets a catered meal. So there's a free meal that day. And then we close out with a concert.
And that concert last year, the concerts in the past have been wonderful. I'm going to give a shout out to the Brockington Ensemble, and specifically, my friend now, Brandon Cooper. Hey, God bless America. And I'm going to tell you, that group can sing. They were singing, and so, it's hope. It's you know, while we're dealing with something that can have such an impact on your life, it's hope. Is it emotional? At times. It is absolutely emotional. How could it not be? But you have a group of people that are in the community hugging each other, loving on each other. And I'm a sponsor, mainly because I believe in the program, but and also I am really enamored of your spirit. Your spirits pick me up. Especially when, sometimes, for whatever the reason, I'm going through different things. I got 5 jobs and I'm not Jamaican. But it's funny sometimes in my conversation, if I'm going to make it personal, it's always funny to me when I'm talking to Kerri sometimes. She said, Brian, I got surgery on Monday, but we'll have this conference call on Friday. And guess what? We had that conference call on Friday. And she is getting in my case. Like, listen, you need to change this. And you do it in such a nice way, Brian. Proud of me. And so, I'm about to mess up my microphone again. But anyway, in any event, praise is the cure for cancer. If you want to support it, it is a 501c3.
It's a 501c3.
The information is at the bottom of the screen if you want to support.
All events are free.
All events are free.
So we can use your support.
we can definitely use your support. It has grown, even from the short time. I think I've been doing it now for 4, maybe 5 years. It has grown from the time that I first got involved, and everybody looks forward to different things. People have their different things, whether it's the pamper party, whether it's the health initiative, where you get the screenings, which are important. You have to have your thick skin, because if you're not doing things right, you got to really, now when you're armed with the knowledge to do things right, you have to do it. As we kind of wind down the show, what would you tell somebody that has not made the decision to go get tested? And I say that to my people that may feel that they're underinsured. Or you're just unsure. You're kind of trying to, in your mind, coming up with an excuse not to go. You just heard Anita share her story and Kerri right behind her share her story. What would you say to them? What would you say to them?
I'll go first. Well, I want to say that, all of our programs, or many of our programs are targeted to the uninsured and the underinsured. So that's no excuse anymore. You can get your screenings whether you have insurance or not. Just call us at that number you see there. We'll make sure that you get to a facility that's close to you and get the appropriate screenings and treatment if you need it. But early detection is the key. So you need to know your body. Nobody knows your body better than you, and when something's not right or something's different, you need to take action. You need to take action, and that's what my tip would be. How about you?
My tip would be is that you're needed. You're needed by your family, you're needed by your children, you're needed by your coworker, you're needed by people probably that you don't even know need you, and you need to stop and take care of yourself and get tested, because breast cancer is not a death sentence. They're making so many different strides and advancements in breast cancer. All you have to do is just get the mammogram, and they have all different types of mammograms now. So do it, because people love you, people care about you, and they want you to be around.
And we always close out whatever we're doing by saying, be an advocate. Tell your mother, your grandmother, your sister, your aunt, your niece, your coworker. Tell everyone about breast health. Be an advocate, because together we can win the war on this.
And Anita and Kerri Connor, the Tax Divas, and they also doing the Praise is the Cure for Cancer. Kerri is an author of My Mommy Has Breast Cancer, But She Is Okay. Something I want to get, before we close out, something you said that I just laid on me. You said, most women, most practices wait until, suggest that you get a mammogram at 40. What say you about that?
Well, I had a history. I had a family history of breast cancer. So my mother was diagnosed at age 41, so I actually started getting mammograms at 29.
Okay.
So you really need to talk to your healthcare professional, especially if you have a family history. Participate in clinical trials, ask questions. But if something does not feel right, you need to advocate for yourself and make sure that you get tested.
And then as we close out, how does somebody get this book? You have a website. For more information, visit www.mymommyhasbreastcancer.com. Again, this is Brian Green. Today's show has been sponsored by Always Breast Care. Thank you, ladies, for coming on. Thank you for trusting me to tell your story the way you are. I have to tell it with a lot of class. And I will be bugging you later on about my QuickBooks.
Yes.
All right, this is Brian Green. Again, check me out on WURD on Saturdays at 4 p.m. WURD WRDRadio.com or channel 96.1 FM or 900 AM. You think I would know that by heart, but again, I have 5 jobs. Don't judge me. All right, this is Brian Green signing out. Take care.
Did you know he'll help you understand? Did you know always a right-hand man? Did you know he's gonna make it clear? Did you know? Come on, listen here. Did you know? Did you know always a right-hand man? Did you know he's gonna make it clear? Did you know? Come on, listen here.